Hello everyone, it's Deb again. So I thought I would go ahead and start testing my Montek power station, and I've actually already tested out the DC outlet when I was airing up my tires on my rig, and so I will put a clip at the end showing that test, but that works just fine. I haven't tried the USB plugs yet. I still have to try those. But tonight I needed to make chili for dinner, and I would normally make it inside on my gas burner, but I need to test the 120 outlets. There's two of them down here, and so I'm going to test both of them. I'm going to make I'm going to brown the ground beef using this outlet, and then when that's done and I add everything else, I'm going to switch the plug over to this outlet and make sure that one works too. So keep your fingers crossed and turn the power on. It did take 1%. See if it'll focus. It took 1% to do all four of my tires, but they were pretty low. And so we're starting at 99%. Let's see. This is the AC on and off. Not quite sure. Okay, yeah. There's no light or any indication, but you see that? 120, 0 watts. So that works, I guess. At least that part does. So let's turn on my burner here. Yep, there we go. Ooh, did you hear the fan? So I've got to keep this door open. That's a pretty strong fan. So when I run AC, I have to have both the doors open. So far so good. Pulling 952 watts. This is a 1,000 watt burner, and this inverter is only 1,000 watts, so I'm not quite sure how long I'm going to be able to cook on this, but I guess I'll find out, because I normally cook my chili for, you know, quite a while. Let me try to get you in frame here. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but just a little bit maybe. So I've got that on 3. Hopefully I don't run this down, because normally I'll cook my chili for at least a good hour, sometimes longer, depending on how hungry everybody is. I'll put my gloves on here. It's already down to 97%, you guys. I may not be able to finish it on this. I guess I'll find out. I'm not actually planning on using the Montek to cook on when I'm using my electric burners. I'm actually going to use my Apex for that. But I just wanted to check the burners, and this is the biggest load I could find to test the inverter out. And I just put these nitrile gloves on so I don't have to worry about washing my hands right afterwards out here, because I don't have running water out here. Even when I'm in the house, I use gloves whenever I'm handling raw meat. That's just what I'm used to doing. What I'm not used to doing is cooking chili on an electric burner, but hopefully it'll be okay. I'll just have to keep an eye on it a little bit more closely, I suppose. And then when I'm done with that, I take the wrapper and I ball it up, and I'll take one glove off, and just like that, and then I'll grab it and then take it off inside out, so I'm never touching the gloves, and then I can just tie it up and throw it away. And I use 1 large onion, but I only put half of it in right now. So I put half of a large, I think this is actually a Vidalia onion. So I put half in now when I'm browning the beef, and then when I put everything else in, the tomatoes and the beans and the spices, that's when I add the rest of this. And towards the end, that's when I put my garlic in, because garlic should not be overcooked, because then you kind of lose the medicinal value of garlic. So, I mean, I do add some early on when I add the tomatoes and stuff, but also at the very end I add more. Well, at least it works. I first tried to turn on just the AC and nothing happened. So the main power switch on this Montek does have to be on in order for it to, in order for the AC to work as well. So both power switches have to be on. Okay, let's see where we're at now. Oh boy, already down to 93%. So I'm guessing I'm probably going to drain the battery almost all the way, just with one dinner. But again, this is not the power station that I'm going to use when I run this electric burner. So there's the rest of my stuff. I put 2 big cans of diced tomatoes, 3 cans of pinto beans, and then all my spices back here. And that's about it. It's pretty simple, but it's really good. And I usually make cornbread to go with it, so hopefully it's not too hot in the house, because I'll probably bake that in the house tonight. So I will get back to you in a little bit. Alright, so it has been 15 minutes. I did have to turn that up onto 4, and I'm already down to 83%, and this has only been 15 minutes with my burner on 4. So pretty sure I'm going to be pushing it. So what I do when I'm making ground beef is I break it up and everything, and then I cook it for you know, 10 minutes with the lid on, and that gets it done all the way through. And I stir it, of course. Oh, I'm gonna get foggy lens. And I stir it during that time and keep breaking it up. And then when it's all the way cooked through, I leave the lid off and cook off all the water that is still in there. And then after that, you're not going to be able to see it because you can't get the camera too close. But anything that's left after that, can you see that? That's grease. And so what I do, because this is 85% beef, I do drain off, sorry about that noise, I do drain off that fat, or I don't drain it off, but what I do is I take paper towel and I put it down in there, and I just lean the pan, sorry, I'm getting too close again, I just lean the pan like that, and the paper towel will start picking up all that grease. And I just do that until all the grease is gone. Sorry, I have to keep switching hands here. I'm right-handed. So it usually takes 2 paper towels. You can still see it running, and it's not all picked up. So let me do this properly. Oh boy. Sorry guys. And so I just pick that up out of there and throw it away. And then there's still more grease. Sorry, dang. I got a frog in my throat tonight. There's still more grease in there. So again, I just tilt it to the side. A lot of times I'll take the paper towel and go up underneath the ground beef, if that makes any sense. I'm just going up underneath it, and that's picking up all the rest of that grease. You probably can't see what I'm doing, but that paper towel is wrapped around my my spatula here. And the fan on the inverter on the Montek, it only comes on when the burner kicks on. So the fan only comes on when the inverter is actively being used. On my Apex, when I turn the inverter on, when I turn the AC on, the fan is almost always on. Whether there's a load on it or not, that fan kicks on right away. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but... Oh god, no, here we go with the foggy screen again. Yeah, see how dry it is now? So there's really no fat left in there. And now is when I go ahead and add my other stuff, but what I'm going to do is turn this off real quick and change the plug that I'm using. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Oh, I was getting worried. Oh my gosh. I was getting worried. Okay, so now I've got it in that side. And I just kick back on. I'm down to 80%. This thing pulls 950 every time it kicks on, no matter what the temperature is. Whether you have it set on 5 or on 1, it doesn't matter. Every time it kicks on, it's going to pull 950 watts. That's just the nature of these electric burners. So now is when I go ahead and add everything else. It has been 23 minutes since I turned on the burner. And this is not the pot that I normally make my chili in. I usually make it in the big one that we have in the house. But this is the one I'm bringing with me on the road. And so, kind of an experiment just to see if this will hold a great big pot of chili. Because this is enough for about 8 people. There's only 3 people in my house. But we have leftovers all week. We can usually make 3 dinners from this one pot of chili. 3 dinners for, 2 people at least. So we usually do 3 people on Sunday night when I make it. And then there's leftovers for 2 more nights for me and my son. Which we usually just do like chili cheese burritos or chili cheese hot dogs or whatever. Chili cheese potatoes, baked potatoes. And now I'll put a little bit of garlic in, but like I said, I'll put more in at the very end. That's not a little bit, that's a lot, but we like garlic, so it's okay. And then I'll put the rest of my onions in. This is barely gonna fit, you guys. Of course, I don't know who I'd make chili for out on the road, so maybe I'll never make it again, who knows. Oh wow. Oh yeah, this is barely fitting in here. I'm all the way to the top. Oh boy. I'm guessing it would not, I can't make this in my Instant Pot because my Instant Pot is only a 3-quart, and I'm almost positive that I cannot fit all of this into that little Instant Pot. I don't use very much salt. I don't need the garlic. I don't always have fresh garlic or the jarred garlic, and so a lot of times I just use my garlic granules that I have, but this time I don't need to do that. And I get all my spices from Mountain Rose Herbs, and I buy them in bulk, and I just refill these jars. This is Mexican seasoning, and I don't measure. When I'm making chili, I don't measure. I just sprinkle it evenly on top until the whole surface is pretty much covered. And then I use cumin. So whatever, it's probably about maybe a teaspoon of each. And then chili powder. I go a little bit heavier on the chili powder, depending on how hot we want it. And then I also use a little bit of paprika, which brightens it and makes it even more red in color. And now I'm out of paprika, but I have, again, I buy it in bulk, so I'll just refill this bottle. I think that's it. You can see I don't measure anything. I'm just literally just sprinkling it all across the surface, and then I very carefully stir that in. But I want this to cook at least for a half an hour. At least. More like an hour would be good for me. But I'm not sure that this power station is gonna take that much. Of course, I turn it down once it comes to a good gentle boil. Then I'll turn it down to simmer, because right now I still have it on 4, and I'll keep it on 4 until this gets nice and hot in there and starts bubbling. Not boiling, but bubbling. And then I will turn down the heat. Oh my god, you know what I forgot? Oh, I have to go back in the house. I forgot I put bay leaves in here too. I put 2 big bay leaves in here, and I cook the whole thing with bay leaves, and then right before it's done, I take the bay leaves out. So that's the other thing I have to go grab. But I always cook it with the lid on, and I just stir it every so often until it's done. So let's check in on the Montek. Oh boy, down to 77%. I'm predicting I'll be down to 20% or maybe even less by the time I'm done. We'll see. Okay, so for those of you who don't cook that much with spices and in particular bay leaves, I went ahead and I had a little bit more chili powder in there. I just added all of it, so this batch is going to be spicy. But what I do is you have to be careful with bay leaves because they're dry and they're brittle, and you can see already that it's cracking. And these things, when the dish is done and you're trying to fish them out, they're already hard enough to find when they're whole, but if they break apart, that makes it even harder. And so these are the very last things that I add, and I don't stir it in. I literally just push them down into the liquid right at the beginning. And so as this is coming up to a simmer, those will soften up and become pliable, and they won't shatter. So I don't stir it, because right now if I stirred it, those leaves would shatter, and I don't want to do that. I want to keep them whole. And then right before it's done, right before I serve it, I take those bay leaves out. Alright, so let's see how long it's been. 8:35. It's been 35 minutes since I turned this thing on, and we're still at 73%. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, so it has been an hour since I added the tomatoes and the beans, and I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'm down to 45%. And I have not been able to turn that down from the number 4. So cooking on electric is definitely a lot different than cooking on gas. And if you can see this, I barely have any room to even stir. And so I have to go from the outside in so that I'm not sloshing everything around. And I like this flat edge spatula because I can scrape the bottom. Because of course that's where the food sticks, on the bottom. So at some point here pretty soon, I'll go ahead and take the lid off and I will cook it with the lid off. But for this whole hour, the lid has been on. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that I wasn't able to turn it down. I'm not really fond of electric cooking, but you know, this is free, kinda, you know, free cooking with the solar, as long as you have sun exposure and you can charge up your power stations, then it's basically free and you don't have to keep going buying butane and propane. And there's one of my bay leaves. They poke up when I'm stirring, but when I go to take them out, they hide. Alright, well, I've got the cornbread going on the inside, in the house. We've got another couple minutes on that, and I've got to go pull that out. Down to 43%. I think I'm going to go ahead and drain it down to 20%. I don't like to go below 20% on the lithium batteries. So I think I'll stop it at 20%, whether it's done or not. So I'll check in with you when I'm done. Alright, so it has been 2 hours, and I'm not sure if you can see that or not. I can't see it through my screen, but it says 35% left, and it's been 2 hours, and until just about 15 minutes ago I had it on 4 and I turned it down to 3 about 15 minutes ago, and so pretty much it's been full steam ahead. And this thing does cycle on and off, obviously, so it's not pulling 1,000 watts the whole time. It cycles on and off, but at this point I usually take the lid off and keep it off to cook off some of that water. Here, hold on, let me put this over here. But I think it'll be okay. I'll cook it for another 15 to 20 minutes. And so I'll be alright to cook one dinner, one chili dinner, 2 hours on my Montek. But I don't want to drain it any more than 20%. Not really. You can drain it all the way down to 0% because it's a lithium battery, but I don't really want to do that. So I'll keep going. 35%. I still have 15 more percent before I start getting worried. The cornbread muffins are done. They're inside in the house cooling, and so it's pretty much done. I'll just let that cook off for a little bit longer, and I guess it was a success. Everything worked. Both outlets work. Fan works. I was able to go over 2 hours. The only thing I haven't tested is the USB ports. I do have a fan to test that. Maybe I should do that right now. Let's do that right now. Why not? Right? Why not? Okay. So this fan only runs on USB. It's not a rechargeable. So like when I turn it on, nothing happens because you can only run it on the USB. I didn't want to test anything on these ports that was rechargeable because there could be battery life left in the device, and so I didn't want to test it that way. Alright, let's see if the USB port works. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Okay. Let me check the other one. The door needs to be open a little bit further, but the bin that this is sitting on is preventing me from opening it all the way. When it's in my rig, it will be on a flat shelf and I won't have to worry about this because there's a ridge down here, like all Rubbermaid bins. So that's why the door is not opening all the way. Alright. Yep. We're good to go. And like I said in one of the other videos, I'm not going to be able to test these other ports because I don't have anything that uses these other ports. We have 12 volt 7 amp right here and 12 volt 10 amp right there, and I'm not going to be able to test them because I don't have anything that uses that. That's a 100 watt quick charge USB-C, and I really don't have anything to run on that either, so I can't test that one either. But so far so good. The only thing I have left to test is to see how fast it can charge with my solar panel. I bought a 300 watt Dokyo. I already had one for my Apex, and I just went ahead and got a second 300 watt panel. You can see both those bay leaves, but they're not ready. It's not ready to be done yet. I swear to God, when I go to look for them, they will hide. That's the way it always goes. But yeah, the only thing I have left to test now is the solar charging on the Montek. So far, I am really very happy with it. I'm glad I got the early bird special because now it's going public and it's going to be about $1,000 for this unit. We're at 33%. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to get this early bird special. It was $550 without the solar panel. So I think it was a good deal and I am very pleased with it. And hopefully this was helpful to someone. Alright, you guys. Talk to you later. Have a good night. Bye. Alright, so I am testing out the Montek outlets now. I've got the 12 volt outlet, testing that. It works just fine, so I thought I'd show you guys. That's my air compressor over there. It's pretty loud. Hopefully it won't be too loud. Hopefully it's pulling about 78, 79 watts to run my little air compressor over here. So the DC outlet works just fine. That's what I'll be using for my refrigerator though. But for right now I just wanted to start checking the ports to see if they all work and everything. I've already done the two tires on the driver's side, and this hasn't moved at all, so it's not taking very much. And the tires are pretty low. My air compressor has to run quite a while. Alright, I'll get back to you when I do another test.